views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hola, everyone. Welcome to Open, the one and only show bringing the best of the Bronx, New York, and the world straight to you. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll discuss the latest in Puerto Rico along with the multiple relief efforts put in place to help those affected by the earthquake when we sit down with poet and volunteer Mariposa. After that, we'll find out what the Museum of the City of New York has in store to honor and celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. this upcoming holiday. Then we'll sit down with author Tysheena Ross to discuss her new book, Funky Charlie, a witty children's book about hygiene. Plus, we'll speak to visual artist Hermes about the creative process behind his artwork. And later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight features the Boogie Down All-Stars, an Afro-Caribbean salsa collective based in the South Bronx, who will perform on our Open Artist stage. So sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way, because now we are officially open. Back to Open, everyone. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche. You know, we're always inviting you to get social with us online, that is. Tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV or like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, while you're there, don't forget, follow moi on Twitter, Instagram, FB, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. So, it's been almost 2 weeks since the island of Puerto Rico has been trembling since being hit first with a 6.4 magnitude earthquake, leaving many people without shelter. And thousands of people are sleeping outdoors as they cope with the multiple aftershocks. And Puerto Rico needs our help. And joining us to tell us how we can donate and contribute funds to Puerto Rico is a longtime friend of mine, poet and Puerto Rico relief effort volunteer Mariposa. Hello and welcome. And, just gotta acknowledge you for always just jumping in the front lines when it comes to assisting with anything related to Puerto Rico.
Thank you so much. I wanted to ask first, where's the café con leche?
That's a good question. I am the café con leche.
You are the café con leche. Hello.
The whole point is that you don't need the café con leche because I give you the burst.
I got it because I only had 1 cup this morning.
Well, hopefully I'll serve. Hopefully
but
I'll be.
You know, for Puerto Ricans, that's a part of our, terapia. That's a part of our therapy, right?
Yeah.
But I just had to lighten it up because it's just a very emotional time for a lot of us.
Right.
I mean, we're all very worried and concerned. This is very different from Hurricane Maria. We're not in a frenzy. We're organized, and that's one of the things that, one of the best things about this, because this is just our people are in dire straits, but we learned so many lessons, and to see people mobilizing, especially here in New York, that just inspires me.
Well, I like the way you're presenting it because it's kind of like saying, all right, here we go again. However, having experienced the hurricane relief efforts, there's a lot more organization. And when we say a lot more organization, we're referring to the grassroots organizations that are dealing directly with the grassroots organizations in Puerto Rico, which is what we're going to be discussing today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not the government,
Right.
but the people.
Right.
By the people and for the
people.
people. Exactly.
And it's a beautiful thing, right? Because although we're not over there in Puerto Rico, the diaspora has come to serve immediately. No questions asked, like, hey, here we are. What do you need? And so here we go.
Exactly.
And the efforts began last week.
Exactly. The efforts began last week. El Maestro Boxing Gym and Cultural Center, located at 1300 Southern Boulevard, put out a call and let people know that they are collecting emergency supplies. There's a whole list. I just wanted to let people know that we are reducing on collecting water. That's not a top need. People need people need toiletries. They need sheets. They need
Medical supplies.
medical over-the-counter medication. Tents, a lot of camping equipment, which on the island right now, a lot of that equipment has been, sold or bought, because of the necessity. So those are the things that people need. Of course, non-perishable food. So El Maestro put out a call, and they have hours where they're collecting. I know you're going to put up the
Yeah, we are
times.
going to put up the flyer later, but I want everybody to understand who Maestro is and what they were able to accomplish during the Hurricane Maria reliefs, so that they understand that we're mentioning El Maestro again because we mentioned them last week, because this is the organization that we are familiar with, and I'm comfortable, me personally, sharing their information and trust that it's going to get to
Thank you.
those needed hands, right?
Thank you so much. El Maestro Boxing Gym and Cultural Center has been around in the Bronx since 2003. They're here for the community. They do a winter clothing drive every year. They have activities for the community here in the South Bronx all the time. When Hurricane Maria happened, they successfully, I'll say we, because I'm proud to be a part.
Well, you were a big
El
contribution,
Maestro.
which is why you're here
And
speaking.
that's why I'm here.
Yes.
And that's why I'm here. So I'll say that we successfully sent to Puerto Rico 3 shipping containers, the size of 40,000 pounds of supplies. And with a lot of community effort and resourcefulness, including a Puerto Rican-owned shipping company, which is La Rosa del Monte Shipping, that's been in the Bronx for 40 years, and that's offered a huge discount. This is a labor of love. This is not for profit, literally. This is people giving their time, people that are, working class, hardworking people that have jobs and families and things going on, and still giving their time.
Right, they're committed to just assisting in for those who are in need, and trusting that they're in control of knowing that everything is going to get to those needed hands.
Exactly.
Right.
And people have legitimate concerns about a lot of shipping containers that did not arrive, that either were lost or confiscated by the government. But that is not the case with El Maestro, because they are super organized and working directly with grassroots organizations on the ground, COPI, people like Luis Rosa, who is one of our Puerto Rican patriots. And this shipping container that is scheduled to leave, be packed on Saturday, January 25th, is going to Peñuelas, to a campamento, which is a camp of activists that have been actively protesting the dumping of toxic ash in the municipality of Peñuelas for several years now. And once it's there, it will be distributed to the municipalities of Yauco, Guanica, Guayanilla, and Ponce.
That's wonderful, and thank you for sharing those details, because we could sit here and talk about the politics and all of the possibilities and accusations, but at this present moment, our primary concern is to assist those that are in need, because there are a lot of people sleeping outdoors.
Exactly.
I
They
mean,
reported approximately 5,000 people are now in tent cities.
in what?
In tent cities.
In tent cities.
And some people that don't, that there's a lack of sheets. Puerto Rico is a tropical island, but at this time of the year, it does get chilly at night.
Right.
There are people that are without pillows. I also want to stress that they're asking for diapers and adult diapers also.
Right, because there's elders.
Yeah.
And so before we leave, let's just share the time slots in which Maestro's collecting on Saturday and Sunday, right? They're collecting this weekend,
Saturday
because
and
you
Sunday.
mentioned January 25th as the shipping date, but there's a lot of collection that still needs to happen.
Exactly. And So on Saturday, the time is from 1 to 5, and on Sunday from 2 to 5. But also, people should go to El Maestro's Facebook page and go to the executive director, Fernando Ponce Laspina. Go to his page and follow his page because they're posting active updates. If people want to follow me, I'm also sharing anything that El Maestro is posting and tagging you. People can follow Rhina Valentin. Colors of Rhina, and this is how we have to,
we mobilize. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to keep it amongst each other and make sure that the information is shared with our own audience. And so
Exactly.
that's why we're here sharing
Exactly.
it with you, and hopefully you understand the urgency. All right,
And
thank you.
if-
Thank you
I just
for
want to
coming
say,
here,
wait,
baby.
before we run out of time, if
We
people
did run
could-
out of time, but
Oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
If people could also donate small boxes about this size, because a lot of the work being done on the grounds is being done by women.
Right.
And we can carry boxes like this. So
Right.
so can children. Like to give other people the ability to help in that way. And then we're having a fundraiser also. So
Right.
stay tuned for that.
Yeah,
And
and
thank
I'm
you for
going to announce
having
it.
me.
I'm going to announce it.
Okay.
And so I like that you said that because, it's a community effort. And when we say community, we mean families.
Exactly.
So thank you. Thank you,
Thank
mi
you for
querida
having me.
Mariposa, for
Thank
the work that you
you.
do for our community.
right.
And you guys, once again, El Maestro Inc. is continuing their collection for Puerto Rico today from 2 to 7 p.m. along this weekend from 1 to 5 p.m. Saturday, Sunday. And they're located at 1300 Southern Boulevard. They're also collecting donations via PayPal or Venmo at elmaestro@gmail.com. And next Saturday, on January 25th, a cargo container will be loaded at 9:30 a.m. Please join and lend a helping hand. And for more information, please contact Professor Ponce Laspina at tuconsentido@aol.com. And then I wanted to also mention con tu consentido 5 at AOL.com. And also the point, I wanted to mention the fundraiser that she kind of like briefly just swept through. They're holding a fundraiser for Puerto Rico on Friday, January 24th, and that's going to be from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. And the point, of course, is located at 940 Garrison Avenue. You can follow Mariposa, La Poeta Mariposa on Instagram for more on that. And we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we're going to find out what one museum has in store for this year's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Don't go anywhere. Hey, welcome back to Open, everyone. So Dr. Martin Luther King was, well, his holiday is coming up on Monday. And for those who are just learning of his history, he was a social rights activist, leader, and a political pioneer who, well, he evoked love and change in this country with I Have a Dream speech, and of course, much more than that. His legacy lives forever, and in celebration of the upcoming Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, we have the Museum of the City of New York Puffin Foundation curator of social activism to discuss the activist exhibition at the museum, which of course includes Dr. Martin Luther King. Please welcome Sarah Seidman. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here.
It's lovely the work that the Museum of the City of New York does. I walk by
you.
there all the time, and the fact that obviously it's the Museum of the City of New York. What stands out for me in the work that's always presented is the urbanism that's captured. I don't even know if that's a word.
It is perfect.
Because that's what for me attracts my eye and my attention. And so, because you're the curator for this particular exhibition, how do you seek the people, the photographers, the artists to tell this story? How do you go about doing that?
Right. So I curate Activist New York, which is an ongoing show, and it covers histories of activism, that get at the urbanism that you're speaking of, from like the 1600s through today, from the Dutch colonial presence through the movement for Black Lives and racial justice now. So it covers a lot of ground. Obviously, can't do everything, but
Right.
try to capture as many and as diverse a range of New York stories as we can. And civil rights movement is one of them. And we have a few pieces on King in there that really get at what we like to think of as some lesser known aspects of his work, whether it was opposing the Vietnam War in a speech at Riverside Church in 1967, or coming up to the city a lot to give press conferences. So he's kind of, one more well-known figure of many, many New Yorkers in the exhibition.
In the exhibition, right. And of course, because this holiday is on Monday, you have something special that is also inclusive of the children, which is important for them to partake in because all they recognize is that it's a holiday that they get off from school.
Right.
Some, I'm saying, not all, but as they develop, that's all they know. It's like, oh, I get a holiday off. And then as they grow, they start learning of who this individual was, who this icon is and was, and his relevance in our way of being and the way we operate in society.
Absolutely, and hopefully, and as amazing as I have a dream is that we hope kids learn in school or at the museum about some of the work he did around economic justice, right, anti-war, peace, like global human rights, as well as kind of connecting that to racism at home. So we have a family program on Monday from 11 to 2, free for folks of all ages, families, kids, adults, and there will be storytelling, books about Martin Luther King and other civil rights activists and leaders, and art making, and then a scavenger hunt in the Activist New York exhibition where kids can look for different civil rights figures, King and others. Coretta Scott King also, who makes an appearance in our anti-nuclear section. So again, showing the kind of range of issues that King and Coretta Scott King, who's really an activist in her own right, that they worked on.
And so, these children living in this era now, we're going to stay away from the politics. Like, how are you relating it to the now?
I was just looking over so King gave, so much relevance,
right. And it's sad. I mean, I'm saying it in this way, but it's sad that it's even repeating itself or has reverted back, into just like, oh gosh, we got to start all over again.
Definitely the fight for racial equality and justice is not over. Some of the issues around segregation and also voting access and voting rights, but also war and the anti-war movement, as well as economic justice. I was just looking over, notes from King's commencement speech at City College in 1963, which he gave, and talked about the denouncing the gap between inordinate wealth and abject poverty. And I'd like to think maybe King would be in Puerto Rico with hurricane relief.
Absolutely.
Or working on these issues today.
Do we have any images that we can show of just a taste of the exhibition? And I believe he would be there because look, there he is. And so these are the images that are going to be on display.
These are in our collection, and then the ones on display, right, I think it'll cycle through, are of him speaking at Riverside Church, and we have an excerpt of his speech denouncing war, which he got a lot of criticism for. I think that's the other thing about King is that we want to remember, like,
Right.
you know, not to sanitize him, the immense opposition that he faced at the time, denouncing the war. Everyone sort of denounced him for taking that position, including Lyndon Johnson and the New York Times. They said, what does a civil rights leader have to do with war?
Right.
Which is
Right, because he was a humanitarian. They didn't get
right.
it.
cared about all people, including African Americans in the war.
Right.
But yeah, making a lot of those connections. So we have audio, we have a few photographs of him on display, and some of his words that we know will continue to resonate with people of all ages.
And is there free admission for this on Monday?
Yes, it's a free program with museum admission, which is suggested admission.
Right,
and
suggested admission.
we want as many people to have access
Yeah.
to the program as possible.
I love it. I think it's great. And thank you for coming here,
Thank
bringing
you
it
so
to
much.
our audience.
Thank you.
And you guys, once again, I know Monday is a day off from school, but this is a wonderful opportunity to spend some quality time with your family. And so on Monday, January 20th, be sure to check out how they're honoring the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King and learn about his work as a civil rights leader at the Museum of the City of New York. And that, of course, is located at 1220 Fifth Avenue on 103rd Street, and that's happening between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. And for more information, you can visit mcny.org. And, we're going to take a quick break, but coming up, we'll learn about a children's book focusing on hygiene. Don't go anywhere.
Praise the Lord. I'm Evangelist Barbara Mayo. I have a program called The Great God. I come on every Saturday at 3:30, channel 70 and 36 on Files. You need to catch me because it's a program to encourage, to lift up, and if you don't know anybody that haven't heard about the program, tell them about it. They'll be encouraged, for God is good. God bless you.
Welcome back to Open, everyone. Always inviting you to get social with us. That's right. Tweet me at Rhina Valentin, and of course, tweet BronxNet at BronxNet TV. Many of you, like myself, may have a preteen, or what is the term they're calling it now, tweens. And, having the conversation of hygiene can be tricky for some parents. And so our next guest, she decided to create a Funky Charlie children's book teaching the importance of self-care and hygiene. And joining us to tell us more about her book, please welcome Tysheena Ross.
Hi.
Hello and
Hi,
welcome.
How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Oh, yes. This is awesome. Awesome. And I'm saying it, of course, speaking as a mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, first of all, I love the title, Funky Charlie.
Thank you.
It's kind of like, hey, what kind of funky we're talking about?
It actually came from a conversation with my girlfriends, and she was telling me something, and I'm like, ooh, Funky Charlie. And the way my brain works, I just thought of a character and made it into a children's book.
And I think it's brilliant, right? Because they get to a certain age. Well, at least for what I've experienced, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain age group, and then their body starts to change.
Yes.
And as you're developing their consciousness and using certain products and or being mindful, you can walk into a certain grade class, and it's like really a funky environment.
And it's actually getting younger. Before it would start around maybe 11, 10, but now you can smell a kid's feet at 3, and you're like, okay, it's time to put you in the tub. Yes.
So talk to me about the book and
So-
what inspired it for you.
It's just, well, actually, my daughter, she's actually the opposite. So maybe I should have made a book called OCD because she's always clean and very. But, you know, I have a lot of little boys in my family that don't like to take baths and don't like to take showers. And as mothers, kids in general just don't want to wash up. So I thought Funky Charlie was actually a good book because it's a rare topic most people don't like to get into. So I said, why not write a children's book and make it fun and exciting for kids, you know, to understand the importance of self-care.
And so, may I see this book? Because I know you're holding it,
Sure.
and you've got a couple of books in your
Yes, I
hand.
do.
And so, Funky Charlie is the first book you've written.
Yes, it was.
And so, the idea behind this book is that you are addressing what, underarms, feet,
Everything, just self-care in general, how important it is to, you know, take care of your body, your hygiene. And the way you start as a young age is the way you're going to take it into adulthood.
It's true, right? And then that's the age also that you kind of start developing your personality and certain things start affecting you.
Yes.
And so this conversation also can be a conversation of resistance. Because I happen to have an individual, my little one,
Yes.
she really is like, I don't really want to deal with like responsible adult stuff right now.
Right.
But the conversation needs to be had.
Yes, and it's a conversation most people don't like to have. So I wanted to tap into that raw topic just to get it out there. Like, it's important for you guys to smell good and to take care of yourself.
And it's good that you wrote it for them so that they can address it themselves versus having their parents talk to them about it.
Yes.
And it could be, I mean, obviously it's going to be a conversation piece, but just the idea of like reading it in a story allows them to experience it.
Yes, and I made it extremely fun, and it's so funny. I made it for kids, but most adults, you know, they say it at my job. They're like, Funky Charlie. Like, you know, they just express it. So it's become very a catchy phrase.
All right, and so I see you have these other books in your hands. Just out of
Yes.
curiosity, what else you got here?
I actually wrote 2 more books after Funky Charlie, so it hasn't been a year since I actually produced Funky Charlie, but I decided to write Grandpa's Art.
Grandpa's Art.
It actually tells you about Black art. It was dedicated to my great-grandfather, who was a famous artist in sculpture. And I thought it was good for kids to know about art, you know, at a young age as well.
That's lovely. And then if all goes well,
If all goes well, it's actually everyday life scenarios, but I just translate it into poetry forms. You know, we hear about so much stuff. People can relate in all ages. And I thought, why not make it in poetry form to make it fun?
and you know, I read somewhere that writing is your therapy.
Yes.
And so now you're passing it on to the next generation because I noticed you've chosen to write children's books.
Yes.
Why?
I feel like the younger generation now is getting real lost. So I wanted to tap into different topics that, you know, brings them back. Like, it's okay to be a kid. You don't have to grow up too quick. It's okay to talk about hygiene. It's okay to be different and talk about Black art. You know, just to have them surrounded by different type of energy, different type of beliefs and stuff. You don't have to be, it's okay if you are a nerd per se or anything. It's just okay to be yourself.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to write children's book.
And then there's to getting them to read it. So.
Yes, I didn't make it too long.
Definitely,
No.
definitely a considerate mama.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you for bringing it here. And Tysheena Ross, everybody. Oh, I want to make sure I don't drop it. And of course, you guys can get Funky Charlie. That can be purchased at charliecreator.com, and it's available at Barnes & Noble and, of course, on Amazon. She even has a Kindle version of it. I mean, it's all over the place, so make sure you check it out. I think it's a wonderful way to discuss children's hygiene with your children. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll sit down with a spiritual artist. Don't go anywhere.
Here we are, Jerome Avenue, the heart of the Bronx. This is where I grew up. Business is booming, people are moving, everyone works hard. Nothing was handed to anyone here. I've been in here to take my passport pictures. I bought flowers here for my mother. Oh, this is where I get my smoothies, by the way. Continuation. This is what we call the O, 170th Street. It feels so Bronx. Hey, my man Fonzie. We've walked up and down the corridor, nothing but love. And I'm glad to say that Jerome is home.
back to Open, everyone. Our next guest is a New Yorker who's been creating art since a young age. He's attended well-known schools such as the High School of Art and Design, the Fashion Institute of Technology, which of course contributes to the artist he is today. His way of creating art is really what's really fascinating because it's influenced by his involvement with dance, martial arts, metaphysics, and the Ifa Orisha traditions. He has a unique process of internalizing all movement, color, and sound through his art, and his work has been featured in collections throughout the USA and Europe. Joining us to tell us more, we welcome visual artist Hermes Torres.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me on the show.
Good morning.
Finally,
I
right?
know, but you're here. Llegaste.
Finalmente, ya llegamos,
Ay,
ya
Dios
llegamos.
mío, I'm so happy you're
Thank you,
here.
thank you.
And
My pleasure.
I got to share with everyone. I know we're going to show some of your images, but in getting to know you, which I got to know you last year, I got to experience your work. And that, for me, is something that's going to be very challenging to really get across to our audience because your work is an experience. And I want you to take that in.
Yeah.
I mean, even though that particular piece that we experienced was semi-interactive, right? It was created that way.
Right, yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about the different modalities that you use in your art.
Well, you know, I'm just a vessel through which inspiration moves through. So there is not one particular way that I focus my art on. I'm very multimedia, I'm very expressive. That particular piece that you are speaking about was created with the intentions of having community come together and participate in a form of prayer or good intentions. And as they added to the artwork, I created the preliminary, and then the participants or the viewers would add on to that, creating a synergistic effect of prayer or intention becoming one community. That was the experience that you had over there.
And a memorable one at that, obviously, because
Yeah.
I'm bringing it in, and I know
Yeah.
that the images that we have are not of that particular
Right,
piece,
right.
but it's very clear that in all your pieces, they are very spiritual.
Yeah,
all of them.
I'm always inspired. For example, I'm always inspired by everything. There is no separation between myself and all that is around me to become a creative element. For example, just as we're speaking here, there's a narrative that's taking place that maybe in the near future may come out as a form of expression through my art or movement, because dance, I say art is my first language, but I also speak a little bit of dance, I speak a little of martial arts, and so it all comes together through the work that I do.
Yeah, I mean, you're a second-degree black belt in
judo.
In
Yeah,
judo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a dancer.
And a dancer, yes. And I still take dance classes every now and then. Yeah.
That's lovely. Always a student.
Always. And I work in a university, so always a student. The students teach me sometimes more than what I can offer them because they challenge me. Yeah.
So I want to look at some of your images and share it with our viewers so that we can just give them a little insight as to what we're talking about. So like this right here is colorful and semi-abstract, but there's a lot going on in there.
Yeah, this piece was done around 2011. They're 6 inches by 6 inches, small pieces. And it was just a form of expression. I like the way that color and movement come together on a canvas or a piece of paper or a plane.
I could see different elements in there, like
some
water, sky, sun,
Right.
wind. I see the elements in there.
Yeah. People will bring their story. I create a story, and then the viewer will bring their own story, and it'll add to the experience.
And then I noticed that on your website, a lot of your work is ink. So let's talk about this.
Yeah,
piece.
this is a big.
Oh, we
Okay.
moved,
This
next.
piece.
Okay, this one
That's
is.
fine. This piece. Oh,
Okay,
we're back.
we're back. All right, go ahead,
All
go for
right.
it.
All right. This piece it's about 48 inches by 58 inches. It's in black and white, acrylic, charcoal, chalk. And at that time, I was a little injured, so I was physically challenged. So I couldn't express myself through movement in my dance. So it comes out in my form of my visual expression. So, and this had to do with, sometimes when I begin to work, for me, it's more about a feeling, a sensation, an intuition than a visual. So through my intuitive nature, I process and it comes out as a visual. So that I started working on because I just felt circles and movement. And as I was working on it, they started communicating to me. I don't call them series that I do, I call them conversations. Conversations.
Okay,
because
I want to go
dialogue.
back to that one picture that we saw for a quick second, and then go, because I believe it had the hay in it. It had hay in it.
The marijuana
Right.
or the raffia.
Right.
Yeah. This piece was a long time ago. It's part of the ancestral legacy.
Right.
It's the kind of nebulous kind of image in the middle represents spirit. It's always say in Spanish, they say, vi un celaje, I saw like a shadow. And the raffia represents the veil of mystery between ourselves and that which is spirit. The elements that you see that were screen printed, which are body parts or skeletal parts, represent the memory that lies in our DNA that translates from one generation to the other. As well, it has a link chain that's frames the artwork, which the link chain also represents one generation linking to the other, processing and giving forth the information and wisdom that the prior generation has to offer.
Yeah, you can tell you're a professor.
You know,
No, I mean,
it's just
I appreciate you breaking it down, though. You know, I really do, and it's lovely because again, like I visit a lot of art exhibitions, and I go to a lot
sure,
of museums.
I've seen you in it. Yeah.
Yes, and it's how I spend my pastime, and there's just something about your work that really resonated with me, and it's because it has its own life. And I'm sure that's for every artist, but what I experienced with your work was something that had additional. It was like infused with magic.
Well, you know, no. Interesting you say that, because for me, every piece of artwork is a prayer, because part of my soul goes into it, and as I am doing it, I am investing energy into that piece that will remain there, ever evolving to each individual that comes sees it. I mean, there's no separation. It is a prayer. For me, it's a prayer that is presented as a visual.
Well, I want to acknowledge you.
Thank you,
for
thank you,
being
thank
here and
you.
sharing it with
Thank
us.
you, my
and most
pleasure.
importantly, I want to acknowledge you for using healing modalities as your means of expressing your art.
It's a healing. It's a healing.
Yeah, we're always healing all day long. At least
you.
that's our purpose, right?
That's
it's to
it.
heal every
That's
day.
it.
All right, and thank you for bringing it here.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Woo, you guys, once again, for more Hermes Torres and his artwork, you can visit hermesarts.com and make sure to follow him on Instagram at Hermes Arts. All right, stay tuned because Bobby C's Weekly Sports Roundup is coming up next.
America's pastime is taking another blow, and it's not steroids this time, but a cheating scandal of another sort that is rocking Major League Baseball. The latest casualty, new Mets manager Carlos Beltran. Beltran resigned Thursday, joining A.J. Hinch and Alex Cora as managers to have lost their jobs in the wake of MLB's investigations into sign-stealing operations by the Houston Astros and Boston Red Sox. Beltran was the only player named specifically in MLB's report and was not given a punishment by the league, unlike Hinch and former Astros GM Jeff Linnell, who were each suspended without pay for 1 year. The Mets will now have to find a new manager. The club could consider internal candidates such as bench coach Hensley Mullins, a former Yankee, and quality control coach Luis Rojas, or look outside the organization even. Eduardo Perez, Dusty Baker, Buck Showalter, and John Gibbons are some potential considerations. More on this news in the C-List. I love Kyrie Irving, but man, oh man, sometimes he just sounds selfish. With Spencer Dinwiddie leading the way, the Brooklyn Nets scrapped and clawed their way to a 13-13 record while Irving was out dealing with his shoulder injury. Irving's back now. The Nets have gone 1-2 with him, and already he sounds like, well, Kyrie Irving. After Wednesday's loss to Philadelphia, where the Sixers, not Irving, took over the fourth quarter, he made critical comments about the organization putting additional players around him to help the team win. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, the Hawks reportedly told budding star Trae Young that they'd get him more help. It's coming from Minnesota. Jeff Teague returns to Atlanta, where he spent his first 7 NBA seasons and even became an All-Star. He'll have a smaller role this time, backing up Young. The Hawks were desperate at point guard at the backup position, previously relying on Evan Turner playing out of position. Atlanta has been outscored by a whopping minus 14.1 points per 100 possessions without the injured Young. The 9-32 Hawks almost certainly won't win significantly this season anyway, but this could upgrade and, kind of help with the frustration that they have in Atlanta. Speaking of frustration, how about another page-turner courtesy of Antonio Brown? Brown has no team, and now he has no agent, per an NFLPA source. Agent Drew Rosenhaus has informed Brown in writing that the relationship between the two men has been terminated conditionally. The letter, per the source, explains that Rosenhaus will rescind the termination if Brown secures appropriate counseling within the next 5 days. The goal is to persuade Brown to get the help that he needs. If he doesn't, he'll have to find a new agent, and perhaps that agent will be able to help him through a stream of issues and challenges, culminating in the recent incident with the mother of one or more of his children and Hollywood, Florida police. Not pretty on social media this week. There must be something in the water that wide receivers drink, Rhina. Cleveland Browns wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. is potentially in legal trouble over an incident that took place in LSU's locker room after Monday night's national championship game. Video appears to show Beckham slap the butt of a police officer who was in LSU's locker room. NOLA.com reports that New Orleans police obtained an arrest warrant accusing Beckham of simple battery in connection with the incident. The report said authorities originally wanted Beckham charged with misdemeanor sexual battery, but a judge denied that request. Beckham, who played at LSU, was celebrating with the team on the field and in the locker room after they won the national championship. Yes, I was right about LSU on the C-list Monday morning. Beckham has already been under scrutiny over potentially breaking NCAA rules by handing out cash to players, but this legal scrutiny is potentially much more problematic for him. 42-25, the final in the national title game. By the way, a touch higher on the LSU side in terms of scoring than I expected. Joe Burrow looks really good. The Cincinnati Bengals about to get themselves a franchise quarterback. Time for some quick hitters from around the world of sports. Playing his first event since October, Brooks Koepka's rehabilitated left knee looked healthy as the world #1 shot 6 under 66 and has 2 shots off the 18-hole lead at Abu Dhabi Golf Club. In tennis, Andy Murray has delayed his comeback to the sport because of a slower than expected recovery from bone bruising that resulted from a career-saving hip surgery last year, the 3-time Grand Slam champion told the BBC. In racing, the all-female W Series will be part of the Formula One support program in its second season with new races at the U.S. and Mexican Grand Prix in October. Organizers announced on Thursday, and more breakthroughs for women in sports. That was the trend this week. A Sacramento State graduate was tapped to serve as an assistant coach for the San Francisco Giants, marking the first time that a female coach will be in Major League Baseball history on a full-time basis. The Giants announced in a news release Thursday that Alyssa Nakin is one of 2 new hires as Major League assistant coaches were announced for the team for the 2020 season. Nakin was a 4-time academic All-American softball player for Sac State, where she played first base for the Hornets from 2009 to 2012. She's played hundreds of games and has earned several accolades, including 2012 Conference Scholar Athlete of the Year and 4-time Commissioner's Honor Roll winner. The Women's National Basketball Association, the WNBA, and its players union on Tuesday said they reached a tentative 8-year labor deal that for the first time will see the average annual compensation for players hit 6 figures. Big news there. From the pro hardwood to the college ranks we go. Clemson recovered in the final few minutes to knock off number 3 Duke 79-72 as fans stormed the court in Little John Coliseum on Tuesday night in Clemson, South Carolina. unreal finale there in college basketball. And how about some chess on a Friday morning? Norwegian chess grandmaster Magnus Carlsen has stretched his unbeaten run to a record-breaking 111 games. After securing a draw in a tournament on Tuesday, he's the best I've ever seen play chess. I would likely have him in the Bobby Fischer territory. GOAT. You can make a case that Antonio Gates is the GOAT of NFL tight ends. That chapter has been written already. Gates announced his retirement from football on Tuesday, ending his career with Hall of Fame caliber numbers. Enjoy the sunset, my man. But some legends just don't want to say goodbye. Former NFL Pro Bowl wide receiver Chad Johnson Ocho Cinco is hoping to get a kick out of the XFL's reboot this spring. Literally, he's trying out as a kicker. The XFL season begins right after the NFL season ends in early February. Heavyweights Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury have both promised knockouts to avoid going to the judges' scorecards when they meet again on February 22nd in Las Vegas, with Wilder's WBC title on the line. I like Fury, but Wilder is some puncher. Should be a great fight. Same deal this weekend in Las Vegas. We touched on it Monday. McGregor Cowboy this weekend in the UFC 246, Saturday night at T-Mobile Arena. On the ice, Washington posted a 5-2 win over New Jersey Thursday night, fueled by Alex Ovechkin's 25th career hat trick. The Devils skate in Columbus Saturday night. Rangers edged the Islanders 3-2 last night and will be home for Columbus Sunday, while the Isles host the Capitals tomorrow. Devin Booker and Phoenix whipped up on the Knicks last night, 121-98. The Orange and Blue will now host Philadelphia Saturday. The Nets are back in action Saturday, too. They host Milwaukee. And on a final sports roundup note, who's going to the Super Bowl? Tennessee, KC in the early game Sunday, Green Bay, San Fran, and the nightcap. The winners will meet in the Super Bowl. We hit the C-list for a look at baseball's very sad week. Sports has been and always will be about trying to gain a competitive edge. That line is often blurred by the temptation to cheat. I believe this trait starts in our youth when we play board games like Candyland. Losing sucks, man, and we do anything to make sure that it doesn't happen, right? But the thing about cheating is it ruins trust. Steroids made baseball like, a video game, but when the dust settled, it nearly destroyed the game itself. Baseball has been working hard to clean up its image ever since. The steroid cheats knew it, just like the sign stealers in Houston knew. They knew what they were doing was wrong. They knew they were cheating, not much different from the PED users some 2 decades ago, shooting up in secret. They knew. It is a sad day. It has been a sad few days for the sport, and that even includes accusations that star Mike Trout is taking HGH in a separate story. But perhaps a necessary few days for baseball, lest further sign-stealing scandals erupt into a full-blown steroids-like melodrama that engulfs baseball for years to come. With the commissioner's office still investigating the 2018 Boston Red Sox for impermissible electronic sign stealing, with Cora as the manager, and like the 2017 Astros on their way to a World Series title, the Red Sox ownership had no choice but to let Cora go and begin the search for a new manager. That was the same storyline with Beltran on Thursday, 77 days after being named the new Mets manager, and on the same day as the team renamed a street for one of their legends, Mike Piazza. I think all of the people that might have been affected by this, big and small. Aaron Judge finished second to Jose Altuve in the 2017 MVP balloting, and we'll never know how the cheating affected that outcome. Judge cannot recoup that opportunity or the financial benefit that he might have gotten from winning an MVP in his rookie season. Among the notable victims of the Astros cheating scandal in 2017 were the New York Yankees, who lost to Houston in a thrilling American League Championship Series that year, went 7 games. New York went 0-4 at Minute Maid Park, where the Astros were found to have used a monitor displaying the center field camera feed throughout the 2017 season. CC Sabathia, a longtime Yankees pitcher who started Game 7 of that series, isn't taking what the Astros did lightly. He believes they should have that title vacated. So do I. Because even like this reporter or the legion of Yankee fans here in the Bronx, we missed out on another fall classic. We can't get that back, and all of the cheaters shouldn't be able to enjoy something that they didn't earn. That's your sports. I'm Bobby C.
back to Open. It's now time for this week's Open Artist Spotlight. This week's Open Artist Spotlight features the Boogie Down All-Stars, also known as La Sonora Bronxeña. They are an Afro-Caribbean salsa group from the South Bronx that's all about honoring the salsa culture and diaspora by sharing history, comedies, and tragedies through the use of music. Here now to perform a medley for us, please welcome two members of the Boogie Down All-Stars, Rosangelica Lopez and Christian Bravo.
All right, take it away. The message never gets clear. They tell me I need money to love well, but the message never gets clear. They tell us our souls are not enough, but it seems like we're not good enough, no, for Miss America. She tell me I need money to love. She tell me I need money to love. But don't you bring me flowers in no crystal vase. You can feed me your sweet candy, but I'd rather starve. Oh, don't need a Hallmark card. We regurgitate the words that we've all heard, but I love you. I love, I love, I love. We give so much love to Miss America. She tells me I need money to love. She tells me I need money to love. Oh, she tells me I need money to love, need money to love. She tells me I need money to love. La rumba me está llamando. Bombón, dile que ya voy. Yeah. Que se espere un momentico mientras canto un guaguancó. Dile que no es un desprecio, pues vive en mi corazón. Yeah. Mi vida está en solo eso. Rumba buena y guaguancó, y decimos mamá, 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 y decimos kimara, kimara, kuma, kimbamba, kimara, kimara, kuma, kimbamba. Si quiere gozar, si quiere bailar, kimara, kimbara, kuma, kimbamba, yeah. Ay, lo baila Mariana, también Joseito, kimbara, kimbara, kuma, kimbajito, kimbara, kimbara, kuma, kimbamba, kimbara, kimbara, kuma, kimbamba. Si quiere gozar, si quiere bailar, kimbara, kimbara, kuma, kimbamba, yeah, yeah. Ay, lo baila Mariana, también Joseito, kimbara, kimbara, kuma, kimbajito.
I was like, no, I don't want it to be over. Woo! Oh my gosh, Boogie Down All-Stars, everybody! Woo! Actually, only two
of us
members
today.
Right? How many of you are all there
It's
together?
8. It's like 8.
8 of you. So imagine. And this is just with 2 of you.
This is just with 2.
Angelica and Christian.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, all right, let's talk about when the Boogie Down All-Stars formed themselves.
Well, August 2018, right?
In theory, that was our first show, August 2018. I've been friends with Elliot, our maestro. He's our timbalero. He's our band leader.
Yes,
I've been
indeed.
friends with him for many years. I met Christian because we were both working at the same restaurant, Peque in Harlem. You were bartending, I was a waitress, and I was also singing there. That's how we met.
Yes, indeed.
And we went
that's
to
how
get
it
these
usually
congas all the way in Rockaway Beach. We brought
right.
these congas from Rockaway Beach from his dad's house.
Nice,
Yes.
nice. So what we experience is a medley of like the classics fused into this like Afro-Cuban sound. There's something I'm missing here because there's something else that you
Diasporic flavor. I mean, the first song was a song that I wrote that I put out a while ago, and then the second one was Celia. Is like
Right.
my
We
idol.
all know, right?
Yeah, so
But it's the sound. It's got an eclectic sound. I'm trying to pinpoint
it's a
that.
fusion, like
It's nostalgic, but it's also contemporary in
Right.
a way. We're just, paying homage to the classics and doing our own interpretation that's kind of fresh. But you can feel it, like,
Fanya to everybody.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear more. And so, where can people find your music?
So on SoundCloud, if you type in Boogie Down All-Stars, we come right up. And YouTube as well, Boogie Down All-Stars.
And also, we want to mention that they're going to be performing at El Sur de Puerto Rico at
Mariposa.
The Point, and that's on Friday, January 24th. And once again, for more on Boogie Down All-Stars, check them out on Instagram at Boogie Down All-Stars. That is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through, and to you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recablecast tonight and 24 hours a day at BrossNet.tv. I'm Rhina Valentin. And from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity, y amor. Yes. All right, we leave you with the Boogie Down All Stars.
Dale, 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 dale. I will come to your river, wash my soul again, soul again. Come to your river, wash my soul. I will come to your river, wash my soul. I will come to your river, wash my soul again. Hey, hey.